Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So I go to a board game night every Monday night. And it's really fun to play at a high level, right? So I play a Ticket to Ride, and I play very competitively, and I I've gotten really good at the game ever since I started programming the AI for it. A lot of the skill I've developed is from playing against my own AI, if you can believe it. But what's not so fun is that here in American culture, people treat our lives like it's some kind of cutthroat competition, right? Whether it be negotiating at work or even you guys see that I've been returning to the dating scene. Even dating can feel like that, right? Who can manipulate the most out of a relationship? Even if it's not a toxic relationship, there's still a lot of game playing, right? And I was living with a roommate who I had a lot of disagreement with, in large part. And I'll get to why in a second. In large part because we treated it like an adversarial relationship. That's a big reason why I've been looking at career opportunities in Taiwan and even in small town America like Wallace, Idaho, right? Very seldom did I have any kind of cutthroat like that in Wallace. So I had a big problem with my last roommate, who I thought was a good friend. What had happened was I had a friend at a different meetup group who had set me up on a blind date, and we didn't hit it big or anything, but I ended up meeting some of her friends, and that's where the roommate situation came into play. He was about my age, and he owned the place, and I don't think we had any conflict over the girl. I don't think that was the source of conflict. I think what was the source of conflict was that he knew a little bit too much about my comings and goings, and he's a heavy drinker. And when he noticed that I was still grappling with binge eating disorder, you got to remember when I returned to the dating scene, my eating habits kind of went out the window, and I was still readjusting to that. He used that as a way to deflect some of his guilt toward his drinking problems. And why? I mean, we should both work on our problems together, not see who could be worse so that, I could feel better at least, right? I really got the sense that was one part of the equation. The second part of the equation was I don't think he had any issue with the girl that we both knew. I think he's also single, and when he saw me go on the date with the girl in Houston and I was chatting with the girl in Taiwan, I think he might have gotten jealous about that and decided that he needed to sabotage. That's the feeling I got. In any case, things really spiraled downward. We had argued one night over a whole boatload of nothing. When I say a whole boatload of nothing, I really mean it. We didn't have any. It was something as stupid as maybe I forgot to clean up. I was kind of distracted with something else, and what could have been a gentle reminder became a full blown argument. And he threatened to kick me out, and he wasn't gentle about it. He says, "You got to get out tonight." And when he said it that way, I got a huge amount of anxiety because I had a lot of art projects in the home that were fragile. They needed to be packed. I'm pretty good about staying in my car if I needed to, right? It was February when this happened. Here in Arizona, February is beautiful to stay in your car. But I probably would have needed a few days to properly pack everything. And when he said it like that, it gave me a lot of anxiety. Not to mention, I had to teach a class the next day. I had grading to do, and it just gave me a lot of anxiety when he said it that way. Had he said that, we're not a good fit, why don't we make other arrangements? He probably would have gotten what he wished as well, but it wouldn't have riled me up to the point that I can't think straight when I have anxiety like that. Right now I have a new place, but you may have noticed that I haven't been recording YouTube videos in there, in large part because I don't want to arm my roommate with information that he might use in the wrong way, right? Number one, that. Number two, I have a big fear. You may have noticed that all my personal possessions are still in my car. I got a lot of PTSD when my roommate was threatening to remove me. And I don't know what to do. I need to move my stuff into the home, but I want to talk to my new roommates first and make sure that we could actually talk about conflict rather than fight, right? And I don't know why sometimes when I go to sleep, when I lay down, the voices of my old roommate asking me to leave immediately still replay in my head. It's a big fear. My heart really goes out to people who have 2 or 3 year old kids, and their roommate says you got to get out, and I can only feel how they feel. I mean, it was bad enough with inanimate objects, right? Let alone children. But yesterday, I was talking. I know why I had so much anxiety. I was talking to a friend at the board game meetup, and he said I didn't handle it right. He said had his roommate who owned the place said anything like that, he would have stopped talking to the roommate. He says, now that you've crossed that line, I'm not going to talk to you before I check with a lawyer. That's what my friend at the board game meetup said. And he would have just stopped talking to his roommate. And you know what? It hurts because I think my roommate knows that I don't have a whole lot of friends. I think he also took, which is why I don't like to record these videos in the home anymore, where he can overhear that. And my roommate, my last roommate, at the time I thought it was kind of cute, but now looking back at it, he doesn't really respect privacy either. I get home after a long day, I'm tired, and you know what, maybe I should have been a little bit more mindful of my own security, but I trusted him a little too much. And I'm tired, I leave my bag on the kitchen table. Next thing I know, he's chatting to me about something interesting he saw in the bag, right? Art or something that I wrote at one of my students' assignments. And at the time, I thought it was kind of cute that we could have conversations about that stuff. Now looking back at it, I should have set some firm boundaries. And I think my roommate recognized I didn't have a whole lot of connections. After all, I was begging a friend, a mutual friend of ours, to set me up on a blind date. I think we got off to a weird start. That's for sure. But also at the workplace, I find myself, instead of working, finding myself always documenting and protecting myself, and it just detracts from it. I teach at a community college, and in the past, I found I trusted my colleagues and my boss a little bit too much to my detriment. And what had happened was that I was working at tutoring center, and I had asked for a certain day off, and then when the day came, my boss gaslighted me as if I never asked. I made the mistake of not putting it in writing. But you know what? It's easy for me to write an email. That's not hard. It's not hard for me to remember to do that. What is hard is not having a workplace where I feel like I could trust my colleagues. That hurts. Every time I have to document something, even today at Glendale Community College, I got to document I'm doing this, or document that, thanks for the meeting today. I'm glad to hear our students are pleased about that, right? When I say that, it hurts. I mean, it's not the physically typing the email, taking 5 minutes out of my day. No, that's a minor hurt. What hurts more is the fact that I have to do it. Similarly, you get the idea, right? I really despise how I have to constantly play defense with my life, whether it be at work or with my roommates, and it really hurts. I had another situation where I was threatened, and I didn't treat the person as a friend, and it played out a whole lot better. What had happened was I had a storage locker, and the place was gaslighting me about the deal that they had given me and wanting to raise the rent. And I I I moved storage units because I didn't treat the storage unit owner. It's a big corporation. I didn't treat them as a friend. So I think that turned out a little bit better. But I get into a lot of difficult situations when I have to have an adversarial relationship, but still maintain decent rapport with, right? So, for example, roommate situations, workplace situations, those things kind of fall in between friendship and business, right? That's where I have a, if I were dealing with pure business, like buying a car, buying a gold coin, right? I can deal with that because I never treat those people as friends, right? If I were dealing with pure friendship, like the girl in Taiwan, or the people I meet at the board game meetup, I could deal with that too. There's no business involved there, right? What I suck at is things that kind of float in between there, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.